Ever found yourself in a situation where your emotions got the best of you? We've all been there, haven't we? It's that moment when anger, frustration, or sadness seems to take the driver's seat and we're just along for the ride. This, dear listeners, is what we're delving into today, the concept of emotional regulation and anger management. Now, you might be thinking, I've got my emotions under control. But let's be honest, everyone at some point struggles with managing their emotions, especially the fiery ones like anger. It's part of being human, but the key lies in understanding that these emotions, as overpowering as they may seem, don't have to run the show. The control, in fact, lies with us. So, how do we take control of our emotions? Stick around and find out. We're about to embark on a journey to master the art of emotional regulation and anger management. Trust me, it's a journey worth taking. First, we need to understand what emotional regulation is. Emotional regulation, in its simplest form, is the ability to effectively manage and respond to an emotional experience. It's about how we understand, express, and deal with our emotions in a way that is both socially acceptable and beneficial to our mental and emotional well-being. Emotions are the colors of our daily lives, painting our experiences with shades of joy, sadness, anger, surprise, and many more. They influence our thoughts, drive our actions, and shape our interactions with the world around us. Without emotions, our lives would lack the depth and richness that make them uniquely ours. However, when emotions go unchecked or unregulated, they can lead to a host of problems. Uncontrolled emotions can cloud our judgment, lead to impulsive decisions, and wreak havoc on our relationships. They can create a turbulent internal environment, making it difficult to think clearly, focus on tasks, or connect deeply with others. In the long run, failure to regulate our emotions can even contribute to mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, and personality disorders. In contrast, effective emotional regulation allows us to navigate the ebb and flow of life's ups and downs with grace and resilience. It enables us to respond rather than react to emotional triggers, helping us maintain balance and equanimity even in the face of adversity. It promotes healthier relationships by enabling us to express our feelings in a respectful and constructive manner. It fosters mental wellness by reducing stress, enhancing self-awareness, and promoting a more positive outlook on life. Emotional regulation is not about suppressing or ignoring our emotions. Instead, it's about acknowledging them, understanding their source, and choosing a healthy response. It's about harnessing the power of emotions to enhance our lives rather than allowing them to control us. Now that we know what emotional regulation is, how can we improve it? Improving emotional regulation isn't a one-time deal, it's a process. And like any process, it can be broken down into a series of manageable steps. Let's dive into these steps together, shall we? Firstly, we have to acknowledge our emotions. This might seem like an obvious step, but it's one that many of us overlook. We might try to suppress or ignore our feelings, but this often leads to them bubbling up in unexpected ways. Instead, when an emotion arises, take a moment to recognize it. Say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious right now, or I'm feeling excited. This simple act of acknowledgement can go a long way in helping us to regulate our emotions. Next, we need to understand the cause of our emotions. Our emotions aren't random. They're reactions to events or situations in our lives. By understanding what triggers our emotions, we can better predict and manage them. For instance, if you find that you always get anxious before a big presentation, you can take steps to manage this anxiety, like practicing your presentation beforehand or using relaxation techniques. The third step is assessing the appropriateness of the emotional response. Not all emotional responses are created equal. Sometimes our emotions can be out of proportion to the situation at hand. For example, feeling a little nervous before a big presentation is normal, but if you're so anxious that you can't sleep the night before, that might be an overreaction. By assessing the appropriateness of our emotional responses, we can start to recalibrate them to better match the situations we find ourselves in. Finally, we need to choose a suitable response. Once we've acknowledged our emotion, understood its cause, and assessed its appropriateness, we're in a much better position to choose a suitable response. This might involve taking a few deep breaths, stepping away from the situation for a moment, or using a relaxation technique. The key is to choose a response that helps us manage our emotions rather than letting them manage us. These steps can help us improve our emotional regulation, but what about when we're dealing with anger? Let's explore that in the next segment. Anger, if not managed properly, can lead to regrettable actions. This statement may sound overly familiar because at some point in our lives, we've all been there. Anger is often seen as a destructive force, a wildfire that consumes us and leaves nothing but ashes in its wake. But it doesn't have to be that way. Anger, like any other emotion, can be managed and used as a tool for growth and understanding. Now, why is anger so challenging to manage? Well, the complexity of anger lies in its intensity and rapid onset. It's like a sudden storm. 1 minute you're calm, the next, you're overcome with rage. This quick escalation often leaves little room for rational thought and can lead to impulsive actions. Let's break down the process of managing anger into 4 manageable steps. Firstly, recognizing anger. This may sound simple, but it's often overlooked. We must learn to identify the early signs of anger, such as increased heart rate, tense muscles, or feelings of frustration. Acknowledging these signs can help us prepare for the storm ahead. Secondly, understanding the trigger. What sparked this anger? Was it a disrespectful comment, a perceived injustice, or an unfulfilled expectation? Identifying the trigger helps us address the root cause, rather than just the symptoms of our anger. Thirdly, taking a timeout. This is a crucial step that allows us to create a buffer between the trigger and our reaction. It could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, counting to 10, or stepping away from the situation. This pause gives us the time to process our emotions and choose a more measured response. Finally, finding healthy outlets. We all need a way to vent our anger, but it's important to do so in a way that doesn't harm ourselves or others. This could be through physical exercise, creative pursuits, or talking it out with a trusted friend or therapist. Managing anger is a continuous journey, not a destination. It's about learning, growing, and constantly adapting our strategies. Remember, it's okay to feel angry. What matters is how we handle it. So, we've covered a lot today about emotional regulation and anger management. Let's take a moment to recap. We started with defining what emotional regulation is. It's not about ignoring or suppressing your feelings, but rather recognizing and managing them. It's about being in charge of your reactions to life's ups and downs, rather than letting them control you. We then moved on to discussing the steps to improve emotional regulation. These include self-awareness, identifying triggers, practicing mindfulness, and employing coping strategies like deep breathing and visualization. Remember, it's a process, not a one-time event, and each step is crucial in its own way. Finally, we delved into the topic of anger management. We learned that it's about understanding the root cause of our anger, expressing it in a healthy way, and finding constructive solutions. Remember, it's not about suppressing emotions but rather understanding and managing them better. Practice makes progress, and with time, you'll be in control of your emotions, not the other way around.